Hi, my name is Michelle Young. I'm the Public Policy Counsel with the ACLU of Maryland, and I'll be joined in a roundtable discussion with our coalition partners from Everyone Votes Maryland. So I'll be talking to Nancy Soring from the League of Women Voters, Natasha from Black Girls Votes, and Delegate Eric Lutke.
I'd like to start with going around and talking about some of the challenges that your organizations or your constituents are facing with voter registration and voter access.
So with Black Girls Vote, in our first year of operation, we registered more than 11,500 voters. And we did so meeting folks where they are. But one of the most common issues that we ran into, some of the barriers folks were facing related to access, was there's a lot of misconceptions out there around voter registration deadlines, what are some of the eligibility requirements.
One of the things that the League has been supporting is election day registration. Sometimes people move, and because of moving, they forget to go re-register to vote, or they don't remember what the deadline was to register to vote, and don't feel very strongly they want to participate in our democracy, but they can't because it's too late. We still haven't crossed that threshold of allowing people to show up on election day, register to vote, and cast their ballot. Because there is specific language in the Constitution that separates voter registration from election day. We need to, first of all, amend that language. And in fact, it'll take a 3/5 majority in order for them to pass the election day registration. And then it will go before the voters at the general election. And we're hoping that we can pass it this session so that it will be on the ballot in November of 2018, so that election day registration will be in place for the next presidential election in 2020.
Fundamentally, voting isn't just a right, it's the most important right. It's the right that underlies everything else in our democracy. And the fact that registration is a barrier to people exercising their right to vote is a serious problem for our democracy. And I'm introducing a bill called SARA, the Secure and Accessible Registration Act. It's based on an idea called automatic voter registration, which has been implemented in a number of states now, many of them on a bipartisan basis, because it's kind of an obvious idea. Instead of asking people when they go to the NBA or touch another government agency, do you want to register to vote? We pre-populate all the information that they need to register and go ahead and register them, giving them an opportunity to opt out. And it helps make sure that people that have moved, or students, or minority populations, or seniors, all these groups that we know have trouble registering sometimes, it helps make sure those people have a chance to vote.
Let's talk now about some of the concerns that might come up with these new mechanisms.
Why should we allow people who haven't registered ahead of time to show up to the polls and vote that same day?
Well, there's a number of reasons that keep people from registering. One is they may have moved and they may not have been aware that was important to change their registration, but that doesn't seem right to keep them out of the process just because they didn't jump through early on.
So common concerns we hear about automatic voter registration include how to protect the records of people whose records need to be shielded. So for example, domestic violence victims. We have built into the bill some robust mechanisms to make sure that somebody's information isn't accidentally gonna get out there when they don't want it. We also hear concerns related to people who are ineligible to vote being registered to vote through the automatic process. And again, we've built mechanisms into the bill to make sure that doesn't happen.
What kind of outreach or organizing or education do you do for people who may be interested in voting but aren't completely aware of their rights or the process?
So we kind of take a multi-pronged approach. One of our first activities was actually partnering with the Board of Elections here in Maryland, and we trained over 200 women to, kind of in a train-the-trainer exercise to allow them to go out on their own and register voters. Mm-hmm. So coupled with that, we, like I said, meet people where they are. We'll find you at the local farmer's market or even at the Beyonce concert 2 years ago.
Wow.
So meeting people in informal places where they're not necessarily expecting to be registered, but we kind of catch them off guard in a comfortable spot where they're more likely to say yes. On top of that, when we register them, we're also providing them with some of the high level and just basic information they need. This is, their general stance on a variety of the issues that are important to you as a community.
Well, one of the things that we know that can keep people from voting is they just say, I don't know the issues, I don't know the candidates, I don't know what the ballot questions mean. So for every election, the League of Women Voters sends questionnaires to every candidate for every office in every county. We ask them all the exact same questions, we publish their answers.
We all need to be doing the kind of work that these organizations are doing to make sure voters know what their rights are, they know the rules, they know how to navigate the process.
A lot of times you just have to remind some of of those folks who, you know, in over previous years may have been somewhat disconnected from the process. Oftentimes we hear, oh, well, my vote doesn't matter, or it doesn't matter who's elected into office, they don't listen to me anyway. So it's just a reminder and the education piece to let voters know that your vote really is your voice.
If you're interested in getting more involved with Black Girls Vote, I encourage you to visit our website at www.blackgirlsvote.com, as well as to follow us on our different social media channels, which include Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat.
If you're interested in volunteering with the League of Women Voters to empower yourself to know more about public policy, you can go to www.lwvmd.org and find out how to get engaged in your community.
Is contact your legislators. Tell them that you want them to support strong voters' rights legislation, like the Secure and Accessible Registration Act, like Election Day registration, because nothing should be a barrier to citizens exercising their right to vote.